It may be the world's greatest race, and it is definitely one of the Big Apple's greatest days. For the 40th time, we welcome you to the ING New York City Marathon, where 40,000 determined runners navigate their way through the streets of New York City, while 2 million people cheer them on this, the first day of November 2009. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bruce Beck. It's an honor to be with you right here on the Verrazano Narrows, tracking throughout the day here in our coverage with 37 cameras and numerous reporters. In the women's race, all eyes will be on Paula Radcliffe, who tries to conquer New York for the 4th time. On the men's side, this year's marathon is also the United States Men's Championship. Keep your eye out for Olympian Ryan Hall. Overall, the men's field is the strongest and perhaps the deepest in history. And we'll be tracking the progress. 9-year-old Lauren Federesi is one of the most decorated distance runners of all time. She's won 2 Olympic gold medals in the 10,000 meters from Ethiopia, Derartu Tulu. Accompanied by 12-year-old Babacar Tall. This runner set the French national record when she finished 3rd in this year's Paris Marathon. From France, Christelle Donnet. With 10-year-old Jantai Williams, she's got 4 podium finishes and 6 marathon starts and finished 7th in the World Championships this summer. From Japan, Yuri Kano. Joined by 13-year-old Alexandra Ruiz, once a sprinter, long jumper, and javelin thrower. She moved up to distance to become the 2009 winner of the Boston Marathon. From Kenya, Selina Koskei. And finally, with 13-year-old Josephine Garcia, we have one of the greatest athletes of all time. She's run faster than any woman in history, and today goes for her 4th New York City title. From Great Britain, defending champion Paula Radcliffe. Paula, it's been a difficult year for you in terms of injuries, but you always seem to overcome adversity in New York. Can you do it again?
I hope so. I'm here. I'm happy, healthy, ready to run, and good luck to everybody else out there, and let's have a great day.
What's this race mean to you?
Oh, it means a huge amount. It's hard to put into words how special a place New York has in my heart, and hopefully that'll get bigger today.
Good luck, Paula.
Thank you.
Paula Radcliffe, she's run 10 marathons in her career. She's won 8 of them. A 35-year-old sensation.
Ladies, you are the stars of this 40th running of this historic race. Each of you has a chance to define yourselves today on the streets of New York City. We wish you well. On your marks.
The voice of the CEO of the New York Roadrunners Club, Mary Wittenberg, begins this race. It doesn't have the pageantry of what's to come with the 42,000 runners that are going to make up the largest marathon ever on this planet. But boy, if ever there was a voice of confidence, it was that lean, mean machine of Paula Radcliffe, Tony.
You know, we can already see that it's Paula at the sharp end of this point, and it's always been that way. Even last year with big headwinds going over the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, all the other athletes are in some ways so intimidated by this great champion that no matter what the pace is, they just file in right behind her. It's almost everyone's afraid to go in front of her.
She is taller than everyone in the field. She is more accomplished than everyone in the field, and she is trying to win here in New York City for a 4th time.
That's interesting. Yuri Kano in the same colors, but so much shorter than Paula. But she's one of the contenders in the race today, somebody that she'll have to contend with. The only problem with Yuri, as we said earlier, is that she has that marathon just in August in Berlin, 7th place at the World Championships, and it's always tough to come on back. She's in the hat, right in between Paula and the lady in red, who's from France. That's Donnet. And she's the French national record holder at 2 hours 25.
But look at this difference. I mean, here's Cano right down here, and then here's Paula a 1.5 foot up there, and she's obviously can cover more distance per stride than Cano can.
You know, we talked to her a couple of days ago at the press conference about, does she just go to the front of her own? Do the people let her go to the front? She says, it's from her track days and her cross-country days. She just feels more comfortable with that long stride being in front where she's not going to get caught up in any tangling of legs. On the track, it's a little more, you have more room on the roads, but some people just feel more comfortable in front, even though they're taking on the wind that is out there.
Well, we want to welcome in our reporters on the course, in from their coaching duties from around America, Ed Eyestone and Julie Henner. And Julie, give us your take on this race and how you see how things might unfold.
Well, this is the third year I've seen Paula run up close and personal, and it never gets less exciting. Every year she brings new circumstances to this race, but I really think it is her day, and she really wants that course record, and as always, she looks very strong and goes to the front immediately, and I expect to see that course record go down today. The weather looks favorable for that.
Tony, in a race like this, the races are very, very private. They have press conferences where things are rumored and whispered, and with Paula, there have been all these thoughts of she's got this leg thing and she's got that leg thing. What do you think is the reality?
Well, I think every athlete. Last weekend, you were covering the World Gymnastics Championships. It's very similar. These athletes put themselves so deeply on the line every day in training. It's a training-oriented sport. Lots of preparation for very few numbers of competitions. So you're always walking to that line of injury and illness. And so everyone's got some little twinge here or twinge there. No one's really coming in here 110% fit. There's always some little thing. But when you add it all up, Paula's been in as good a preparation for this as she has for a long period of time, even though she had tonsillitis, which knocked her out of the World Half Marathon Championships in September in Birmingham, England.
The New York City Marathon is organized and produced by the New York Roadrunners Club, which is a 24/7 organization. Go to nyrrc.org and you can find out all the events that they hold here in New York City. So the women's race in the 2009 ING New York City Marathon is underway, and no one is surprised that the woman who is at the front of it is Great Britain's Paula Radcliffe, trying to win here in New York City for a fourth time. They're on one of the highest points of the course.
The 2009 ING New York City Marathon on 4 New York is brought to you by Foot Locker, the official.
Coming at the lead on Central Park South, and yet Radcliffe responded with the victory just 1 second slower than a 2004 time. 2:23:10, and then last year she put away 2000 champion Ludmila Petrova at just the 2-hour mark, went on to her third title, and once again has Petrova in about fourth position in the yellow singlet and the blonde hair and the yellow shoes. Thanks, Al, on our telestrator, being right on her heels. And Petrova is one of those women that knows how to be patient, having been a former champion and a runner-up as a master last year at age 40.
From the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, we go back to the start. Two great champions are standing by with Darlene Rodriguez, Dan Jansen and Pat LaFontaine.
We're here right now with Pat LaFontaine, NHL Hall of Famer, and Dan Jansen, U.S. Olympic gold speed skater. It's so nice.
It'll have to get her as much as her opponents. Does she have a little twinge here or there? Will the marathon, will her body maintain itself? Again, she had tonsillitis. She won the New York City Half Marathon August 1st. She went to the World Championships in Berlin to try to run the marathon. Maybe she felt she had a little bit of a hamstring problem. She didn't start. So are one of those problems going to crop up during the course of this 26.2 miles? That's the real opponent she's got, not the other competitors.
So we have a Great Britain, French, Russian, and Japanese story right now at the front of the women's race. They've just made their way toward Carmine Balsamo's house in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, off the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. And they will be heading along 4th Avenue in Brooklyn, the dangling carrot, the big bank building at the end of 4th. A couple of new detours. Actually, this marathon is 14 feet shorter than last year, but that won't change anything. Bruce?
Thanks, Al. Rob Leary is
speed that you can get on a bridge like this.
You know, Ernst van Dijk, who's in the race from South Africa, and 7 or 8 time Boston Marathon champion, is a great glider. He takes the lead in Boston in the first mile and never gets caught. That's the opposite in New York City. He can never quite get on hold of Fernley's backside. You know, Al, that third mile on the women's race was run in 5:36, and Paula Radcliffe in Christelle Donnet from France maintained that lead position, but 6 women have congealed. Now, that course record by Margaret Okayo from Kenya was set in 2003, 2 hours, 22 minutes, 31 seconds. That averages to 5:26 per mile pace. And so the question becomes, and maybe Julie can help us with it, is do you think the record's on her mind, Julie? Is the wind playing any sort of role? Last year, it was very windy and they went out very slowly.
Well, it is a little bit breezy. Perhaps not quite as windy as last year, but I can definitely notice it here on the bike. And you know, Paula has said many times that first and foremost in her mind is winning. She does want to win this race. And, you know, Tony, at 5K, they were 17:53. The course record is 16:50. Oh, we had a big spill. A big spill. Yuri Kano has gone down, as well as Selena Koskai. Not sure what caused that, but oh boy, they fell pretty hard. Geez, Kano got up trying to get back on the peg, as well as Selena. Boy, that's tough.
You know, Julie, that's what Pat Riley, the great basketball coach, would call a thunderbolt. It's one of those things you just can't predict.
No, you can, and they're going to have to maintain some composure here to not let them win this, take them out of this race.
One more time, there you see what happened, a tangle up at the back of the pack. You know, you just lose your concentration for one moment, and the next minute you're in damage control. Okay, it looks like things have settled down there, and we'll get back with more of the women's race. Paula Radcliffe in control, and in the front, we go to Darlene Rodriguez back at the start. Dominated by Paula Radcliffe of Great Britain, trying to win her 4th. Now, the men's field is a little bit different. It includes the U.S. National Championship and a very deep field that many men could think that they could win.
Oh, absolutely. This is a mashup. It's the 85th U.S. National Marathon Championships tied in together with the ING New York City Marathon. We saw Ryan Hall, Meb Keflezighi, and Abdi Abdirahman here in 2007 contesting the U.S. Olympic trials. Ryan Hall won it in a record time, 4 laps of Central Park, and everyone wondered, how would he have done the next day at the ING New York City Marathon? His time was 2 seconds faster than the winner that day. Well, he's got 2 more years of experience and 2 more years of confidence. Meb's back in top form, as is Abdi, and they've got a real shot, but they've got as good a field internationally as we've ever seen in New York City. The Roadrunners Club has not made it easy on the American men. 2 past ING New York City Marathon champions, a 4-time Boston champion. How about the Olympic silver medalist from Beijing, the 3rd fastest man in the marathon in history, and a slew of other fire breathers who are going to give the Americans all they want, but it's no longer a moot question whether or not the Americans have a chance. They very much do.
Meanwhile, it's time to meet the men's elite runners at the start at the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. We go back to Bruce Beck.
And now we'd like to introduce the impressive starting lineup in the men's professional division. Again, escorted by children from the Youth Services Division of the New York Roadrunners Foundation. The children are representing each of the 5 boroughs of New York. Led by 12-year-old Sophia Hargill, is a 3-time U.S. Olympian who has notched top 5 finishes in Chicago and New York City. From Tucson, Arizona, the Black Cactus, Abdi Abdirahman. Joined by 10-year-old Jeremy Perez. He is the only American to finish on the podium in New York City in the last 16 years, a feat he's accomplished twice. The 2004 Olympic silver medalist from San Diego, California, Meb Keflezighi. Alongside 14-year-old Anthony Mendez. 2 years ago, he thrilled New York City with his dominating win in the Olympic trials in Central Park. And his 2:06.17 personal best makes him the 2nd fastest American in history, making his ING New York City Marathon debut from Big Bear Lake, California, Ryan Hall. With 11-year-old John Reaney. Earlier this spring, he became only one of 5 men in history to crack the 2-hour, 5-minute barrier, a runner-up in Boston and Berlin. He's looking for his first victory in a major marathon. From Kenya, James Kwambai. Escorted by 12-year-old Malak Ali. He's twice won the gold medal in the World Championships Marathon. And last summer, his gutsy running in Beijing earned him a silver medal. From Morocco, Jaoud Garib. and paced by 10-year-old Valentina Martinez. This man has 2 victories in New York, which made him a hero in the 5 boroughs, in his home country, and throughout the world. He's looking to become the first 3-time men's winner in New York in 27 years. From Brazil, Marison Gomes dos Santos. Let's get some quick thoughts from Abdi Rahman. Last year, you were right up there, one of the pace setters, and then you finished 6th. How important this year is pace and patience for you, Abdi?
I think patience is important for me this year because I just want to run my own race, relax, and stay with the pack of the pack instead of doing all the work like I did last year. So at the same time, the field is great this year. So we're all gonna help each other. If I'm feeling good, I'll be up there. So just never know. It's a long race in a marathon, and I hope just getting to the Central Park. And if I'm there, that's when I'm gonna take the lead. Hopefully.
Good luck to you, Abdi.
Thank you.
Abdi Rahman. Well, the sounding of the howitzer is just moments away, so let's turn it over to race director Mary Wittenberg, along with Mayor Michael Bloomberg.
Welcome to the 2009 ING New York City Marathon. New York City awaits you. Are you ready to run?
And so it begins, the first of 3 waves. And the ING New York City Marathon today becomes the largest marathon on the planet. The tradition of the howitzer and Frank Sinatra and the bouncing Verrazano Narrows Bridge. And in front of it all, one of the greatest fields ever assembled to determine who will win this race.
Western suburbs into town, and it's pretty much the same types of folks that you see along the route. In New York City, you're going through the world, and you really get that sense of that. And so this is, in that sense, a much more spectacular experience, just going the distance.
And the women are on 4th Avenue in Brooklyn. That's like a little slice of the planet in and of itself. This race runs through, and it's the only city I know of in the United States that has boroughs, as New York Apples takes us through from the very beginning, the Verrazano Narrows.
125th Street, and they took away this giant hill. Instead, it's sort of a long, gradual climb as you come down 5th Avenue. And that was the year when they made that course change that the course record was set, and they really haven't approached it since. But this is the day, perhaps the field, but on occasion, you get a field this strong, and people have a tendency to just look at one another.
Paula Radcliffe still at the front of the women's race, as we would expect. Her record says that she wants to win here for a 4th time. And we've got a little something percolating in the men's
here, and at least have a chance to run with Paula Radcliffe. But now it seems like because of the fall, she's not going to have that opportunity. But up front, we've got a pack of 6, including American Magdalena Louis Boulet. And, they're just clipping along 5:36, 5:37 miles. Mile 6 was actually 5:27, so that was a little quicker, but this pack of 6 is staying together quite tightly right now.
Well, it looks, Julie, that Paula is really not trying to exert too much pressure right now, just sort of wait to that second half. Last year, of course, we're looking back at the fall that happened earlier at around 20 minutes into the race. And look for Selena Kosgei. She's in the yellow, in about 3rd place nearest the camera. Kano right behind her, and that's exactly why Paula Radcliffe likes to go to the front, Al, in order not to be involved in that sort of spill. And it seemingly has ended Kano's chances. Kosgei has come back, and she's in that pack, but the question will always linger, are there going to be any repercussions of that? Did you take a spill? Your adrenaline shoots up. You lose something when you take a fall like that early.
Hey, stuff happens. It's funny, they just went past McDonald's, and Paula Radcliffe looks like she's never had a cheeseburger in her entire life. Now the men's race, we see the 3 in front, and if you see someone who has their name instead of a number, they're one of the elite runners. The man on the right here, Henrik Ramala, lost the closest New York City Marathon ever. He's also been a champion here, and he still thinks he's got one left, doesn't he?
He's run over 30 marathons, and that's his only victory in 2004 here in New York City. And Ed, you've got him coming down off the bridge, a 5:33. Actually, not that bad for the first mile, although it was a little bit slower than it was last year.
Yeah, pretty good. At 5:33 for the first opening mile, and Buramdani took him through that. The Moroccan, and then Ramallah, who was about 10 meters behind, said, hey, this pace is too slow for me, and he picked it up and got right in the lead with him. And, you know, it's not unusual to see Ramallah in the lead, but he usually waits until First Avenue to go crazy, and so he was right up there, certainly asserting things. But behind him, Patrick Macau, he's got to be one of the favorites. And he's decided to go out with them as well. He's a half marathon specialist, so this pace is feeling very easy for him.
Well, Ed, aren't you a little surprised at the pace they're running that the rest of the favorites are not right up along these men? Because these are no pretenders. Ramallah's a champion. Buramdani has been fifth here a couple of years ago, and Macau's definitely one of the favorites in the race in a 2:06 marathoner. There's no pretenders out there. Why aren't the other contenders right up on their backside?
Well, they're closing the gap a little bit right now. What happened is they went through that first mile slow, and so Ramallah just took off fast immediately. Macau was kind of in his back pocket, so they did it. But now, as you look at it, you can see that Meb and Ryan Hall are both closing that gap. The players are getting in position right now, and what an outstanding field Mary Wittenberg has assembled today with 4 men who have run 2:06:17 or faster, 2 Olympic silver medalists, and a 4-time Boston Marathon winner. I mean, it's amazing. If you're a marathon fan right now, you are salivating because this is an incredible field.
Ed, who's your favorite?
Well, you know what? I like Kwambai. I saw him race at Berlin and or at Rotterdam, and he just ran such a good race there. He was also the man partly responsible for helping Haile Gebrselassie get the world record in Berlin. He was the man that was with Haile and pushed him towards the latter stages of that race. And so I really like Kwambai. He's sitting back a little bit right now. He's in about 5th or 6th position, but he's strong. And I think Macau, the guy who's in the lead right now, is also going to be a real factor in the race.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, Ed, because Patrick Macau said he's going to be patient, and use the other men. And guess what? He's up front. He's only run one marathon, and he's only run one marathon, and yet it's a 2:06, and it was a 4th place in that Rotterdam marathon that Kwambai ran the 3rd fastest time in history and taking 2nd place to Duncan Cabet. There's so many different chess moves available to a field this deep. Unfortunately, we've got over 2 hours to try to fill that, but Macau is up there. They're not running crazy pace on either the men's side or the women's side, which means all the racing lies in front, and this is why it's great to have no pace setters.
Some of the most unique pictures in sport. A sea of humanity from start to finish, the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. We'll take a break. This is
racers, and if we have a fast, tight sprint to the finish in the wheelchair division, guess what? That means we'll probably line one up for this men's. Look at the size of that pack.
Just passing Bay Ridge Parkway in Brooklyn. This is one of New York City's really great streets. I mean, if there is anything of any type of food or culture or religion that you want, you can get it on this street at some point.
And in the lead, Abderrahim Buramdani, 31 out of Morocco. You know, there's 2nd in Boston 2008. He was 5th here in New York City and hasn't really had that great a year since, but seemingly, for instance, he was not a member of any of the press conferences. He wasn't really highly touted. But he's obviously somebody who has the credentials to be on and give these guys all the fight they want. And the fact that no one's joining him is a little surprising. You talk to Ryan Hall, you talk to James Kwambai, all said it behooves them to have a strong early pace. They're all afraid to death of having it be a slow pace by the time they get to First Avenue, when Ramallah and the rest of the boys historically go on these wild, crazy rides up First Avenue. And they want to avoid that as much as possible. And here Buramdani has gone to the front and established somewhat of a cushion. Ed, are you surprised?
Buramdani Dawn just has a nice rhythm going right now. They're on about 2:13 pace, but that's taking into account the slow first mile going up the bridge. And it seemed like just past the last water stop, he took fluids, he kept going, he kept his rhythm going, and then the other guys started looking at each other. And I think the other guys are paying so much attention among themselves, they just said, okay, Dawn, if you want to take it right now, go ahead and go for it. Now they're measuring that, and I think they're going to try to keep them within their sights. But yeah, you bet he finished second at the Boston Marathon in 2008, so he definitely has the credentials. He's got to be taken seriously.
So the men and women are both in Brooklyn. Meanwhile, it is time for the second wave start back at the Verrazano Narrows Bridge at Fort Wadsworth.
Only Dina Castor gets to enter
50
late.
feet or so in front of the rest of the field.
And yet the pace is moderate at best. It's not even sub 5-minute pace at 4 miles. So it's all about racing today. Even though the weather's ideal, it's with a field this deep, the prestige of winning the ING New York City Marathon, that's what counts. You go to Berlin, you go to Rotterdam, you go to Paris and London for fast times, Chicago for fast times. The two races which are the prestige races without time constraints are New York City and Boston.
This is a little like cycling in that if that group wants to catch in, they can.
In a second.
So it's a little bit of an odd spot to be in, to be just 50 feet in front and keeping it there. Meanwhile, Paula Radcliffe liquidating a little bit. Julie Henner, how does she look?
She looks great. Very, very relaxed. Not really doing anything special with the pace, but is certainly in control of the pace. Still staying right around 5:36 second miles, which is, a fairly modest pace for her. That's a 2:28 marathon pace. They're, at 15K, the course record pace would be 50:26. These women were 52:37. So at this point, the course record does not seem to be on her mind at all.
Julie, has anything changed in your mind as far as what you thought might happen in this race and what you're seeing right now?
Not really. I think one of the questions was, is Paula going to go for a fast time out the gate? She's not choosing to do that so far, but we've seen her run significant negative splits before. All the major players are right there, except obviously for Yuri Kano, who was involved in that spill. So it is playing out pretty much the way I thought. Paula looks very much in control and very relaxed.
The women are in the 10th mile.
The international runners use kilometers more than miles, obviously, in their configuration of their times and their positions. And last year, Paula ran each of the first 4 5-kilometer segments faster than the previous one, faster and faster. And here, she's not doing that. She's just allowing the distance to go by, saving everything seemingly for the second half when she can roll. Magdalena Louis-Boulet, the United States Olympian, in the arm warners at the back of this pack. Durartu Tulu right in front of her, the 2-time Olympic champion at 10,000 meters. Selena Kosgei from Kenya in the yellow top alongside our 2000 champion. Ludmila Petrova, Donné from France right alongside. And she's been the one who's been right alongside Paula Radcliffe more than anybody else. And I was just talking to Parker Morris, our spotter here in the booth, and he was just saying we both agreed, but she just looks very relaxed, very calm, an easy rhythm to her, and she looks like she's really on today.
So the women and men are in Brooklyn. The masses are underway, and there are just unbelievable stories that Dina Castor, we hope, will help us reveal throughout the day. Back, the men's story has stayed pretty much the same. I don't understand this, Tony. I really don't understand why you'd want to be 50 feet in front of the field and either turn it into something or don't.
Right, it doesn't serve his purpose just to be out there, nor them to just let him do that.
So the men are mile 4, the women are in mile 9 and mile 10 after mile 9. This is the 40th run of former champion here in 2004.
Meb in the USA outfit on your right, your screen. His Mammoth Lakes teammate, Ryan Hall, in the sock hat on the far left. And it's a deep, huge, anxious lead pack. Patrick McCow goes to the front once again. And all the players just just biding their time. It's such a classic championship-style race, and this is what happens in championship-style races in the Olympics and the World Championships. Time is irrelevant. Championship and victory and podium finish is what it's all about.
Best finishes for an American. Meb Keflezighi's had one of them, but we're talking about trying to get an American to win the ING New York City Marathon. For Ryan Hall, that would be, beyond dreamy stuff. It's been since Salazar in '82.
Right, that's the last time we've had an American. We've known since Meb won the silver medal in Athens in '04 and Dina won the bronze medal on the women's side. Since that time, we've known that the Americans can run with the international runners. The question today in New York City is, can they beat them? That's the next step. That's the barrier that they need to break in order to really, validate this entire resurgence of the American distance scene. It's happened over the last couple of years, and everyone is, and what they've done this year with Mary Wittenberg and David Monti putting this field together is that they have invited just Meb. They haven't invited just Avi, just Ryan Hall. They've got all the top Americans here. So as many Moroccans, as many Kenyans, that's how many Americans there are. Even battle.
Every single one of these men in your screen right now thinks they can win this race today. That's pretty exciting stuff. 17 men in this lead pack. Ed Eyestone is out there. What are you seeing, Ed?
Well, I've got 17 men, but the thing that's exciting for me is we've got 5 Americans in there with Meb Keflezighi, Ryan Hall, Jorge Torres making his marathon debut, and his coach, former world record holder Steve Jones. He said it would not surprise me to see Jorge Torres not just at the top 3 American, but top 3 overall, and he's running very comfortably right now. And then Bolota Esmeran and Abdi Abdurrahman. So 5 Americans in a pack of 16 or 17, looking very good right now. But Macau is the guy who every time the pace lags, picks it up. Boramdani had a 4:52 mile in there, and then he relaxed to 4:57. And now as they come through 6 miles right now, the last mile up to 4:52. So the pace getting a little bit more intense. They need to run averaging 4:52s to make a shot at the 2:07:43 course record. And we've got enough bodies in here and enough talent that if they decide to do that, I think we could see some amazing things happen.
Hey, Ed, how about sights, sounds, and smells compared to years past?
Well, we got people out on the course. I think the fact that it's the day after Halloween, maybe some people are sleeping in. We know it gets really crazy once we get into Manhattan. But lots of people out here encouraging the runners, and we're just grateful that the rains have held up. When we got up this morning, the rain was coming down, but it's dried up. And I think the temperature is actually a pretty good temperature for the guys. The wind is kind of a quartering wind coming in on their left shoulder, but not super intense. And I think we have enough buildings around here. They're a little bit shielded from it. Coming up on 10K right now, and I can give you a split time, 31:04 for 10K.
And it looks like right now Meb Keflezighi has every intention of being at the front end, whatever is going to happen among this group of 17 men. On the women's side, let's go to Julie Henner and get an update.
Well, the only change we've had is American Magdalena Louis-Boulet has fallen off just a little bit, kind of yo-yoed back and forth between right on the back of the pack and maybe 10 to 15 meters off the back of the pack. So she's feeling the pace just a bit. And Tony, I agree with you. The French woman in the pink top, Christelle Launay, she looks, like she's out for a Sunday stroll, looks very relaxed. And, she cut her PR recently from 2:28 down to 2:25, and that's a huge confidence boost. And so I think she's going to take advantage of being able to run with the world record holder in Paula Radcliffe and see what she can do out there today. The pace is still fairly modest, right in the high 5:30s, 2:28 marathon pace. So no big moves, no big pace changes quite yet.
Tony, Paula Radcliffe is often called the greatest women's marathon runner ever. Where are you in that conversation?
I can't compete with her. I think she's right there. Greta Weitz is very difficult to challenge in so many ways. She's got to be in that conversation. Of course, we've only had women in the Olympic marathon since 1984 when Joan Benoit, now Samuelson, won that race. Joni is in competitively the ING New York City Marathon today, celebrating the 25th anniversary of that historic win in Los Angeles. But Joni's in that. Ingrid Christensen, Chicago, London, and Boston champion, Rosa Mota. But right now, the way, without that Olympic title, That's what makes her resume hollow right now, and that's why 2012 in London is so important to her.
Right now, the women's race running through Brooklyn on 4th Avenue. Meanwhile, off the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, the humanity of it all. And it's still going on. And the men's race featuring Ryan Hall and Meb Keflezighi is out there on a motorcycle with us. Julie, what has happened in the last mile or so?
They're staying steady right at that 5:36, 5:37 pace. But one thing I have noticed is number 112 in the yellow top, Selena Koske, the Kenyan, keeps touching her knee, and we can't get quite close enough to see, but I believe it may be bleeding from that fall. So, as Tony mentioned, you know, it will be interesting to see if that comes back to haunt her a little bit. And Christelle Donnet, the French woman in the pink, she just continues to match every move that Paula makes. Now, Paula's not making any significant moves, but, you know, if she creeps ahead, Donnet's right there on her shoulder, looking very smooth and relaxed. And then in the Russian woman in the yellow, Petrova, you know, she was the last woman that Paula Radcliffe dropped last year. She's right there. And then the super champion Durartu Tulu, a lot of people's hero back in Ethiopia. She's in there as well, looking fairly comfortable.
Julie, what about Magdalena Louis-Boulay from Oakland, California, back there in the pink arm cover-ups? What's going on there?
She's 7-8 seconds back, starting to struggle just a little bit. I don't think we'll see her back in that main pack anytime soon. She does show some of the stress on her face already at this point.
So maybe Fine for Boulay.
It's an interesting crowd we've got out on the street. Some people don't realize Halloween's not over yet.
What kind of costumes are you seeing, Julie?
I've seen a lot of interesting ones that I'm still trying to figure out what they are. Maybe some kind of scary monster type things. I'm not quite sure. I don't think they know.
Well, Boulay was the U.S. half marathon champion this year and was finished on the podium in several other distances in U.S. championships. The women's national marathon championship was held earlier this fall in Twin Cities, and she chose to run here in New York City instead.
We're seeing a little separation here in the men's race. Not a ton. It's about 50 or 60 feet. It's probing. It's sort of seeing who wants to be a player in the game.
That's exactly it. He's Bourumdan. This is the Moroccan fifth in 2008. He and Patrick Macau, the look over the shoulder that we see is indicating that, come on, boys, let's come with me. I'm trying to prime the pump. You know, let's get it rolling. They're not rolling. They're running over 2:11 marathon pace. And Ed, Macau's tried it. Bourumdan's tried it. Ramallah, Meb tried it one time. No one seems to get these guys rolling.
Well, Bourumdan's tried it a couple times, and this is about the third time he's done it. And again, Macau watched him roll. He looked kind of behind him and saw the other pack of 15 not taking it on, and so he didn't decide to go with him. Their pace is picking up a little bit. They've gone from 4:54. This next mile, I think, will be a little bit faster, more in the 4:52 range. And again, there is a bit of a quartering wind that I think may be making a little bit more of a difference. Certainly every time our camera vehicle goes close by, he's trying to jump behind it and seek shelter. But this is a significant little opening here.
Now, Ed, one of the names we have not mentioned since the opening, Jawad Gharib from Morocco, the Olympic silver medalist. And it's always a classic marathon tactic. The man whose name you never mentioned in the first half is the danger in the second half. You just don't, I know he's in there, but the fact that Gharib is not answering any of these calls could well mean he's the alpha male in that pack, and he's the one everyone else is looking at, possibly?
Well, I think the other thing that's happening is I think Macau is really the guy that they're going, okay, Macau's the real deal. Bourumdan, maybe he's going to come back. Not so much. And I think Macau is really kind of dictating that. They've got to be careful with this guy, though. I mean, he's got second at the Boston Marathon in 2008, so they can't just totally neglect him. But that's certainly what's going on. What I'd like to see right now is Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall's been right in that ensconced in that haul, in that pack. And in past races, sometimes like Boston, we see him go to the front and be the driving force, and I think sometimes exerting a little bit more energy than he needs to be. I think he's learned from those occasions, and he's right in that pack now. He hasn't taken his turn in the front, and so I think he's saving a little energy that way. And Jorge Torres is running there right as well.
Well, they have to watch out because they got a 10-second gap right now. We go back to the year 2000 when Ludmila Petrova won on the women's side. Abdelkader El Mouaziz from Morocco won the race, and now he attacked at the half marathon. He opened a gap and was never headed. So it has been done in the past, but with a field this deep, the odds of one man stealing the race are pretty slim. As Macau once again looks over his shoulder to find out who wants to go. You can tell Macau wants to run, but he doesn't want to be the lone man chasing down Borum down out front.
Well, and I just timed it. It is an 11-second gap right now, and you know the runners are starting to shift their eyes nervously a little bit. I think they're going to start working together to roll him in.
We have seen over the years moves made virtually everywhere on this course, except maybe the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. And back to the women's race. It is now an elite field of 5, and in front again the 3-time ING New York City Marathon champion Paula Radcliffe at the front.
1 hour, 13 minutes, and 10 seconds into it. They're on the Pulaski Bridge,
which is the halfway point of the race.
Just to let you know that last year they reached the halfway in 1:13.24, and this year, Julie, what have you got? Have they got near the split?
No, we're still maybe 70, 80 meters from halfway, but it's going to be slower than last year for sure. And now the women are filing in single file right behind Paula. As you can imagine, going over these bridges, we certainly feel the wind a lot more about Paula's forging head as usual. 5:44
for that 13th mile, so they're going to be around 30 or 40 seconds slower this year than last year, and they're really turning it into, in many ways, Julie, a short race, even though it's a marathon.
They are, and I'm very curious to see, what Paula's thinking in terms of strategy. 1:14.04 at halfway. Like we mentioned, that's just pedestrian for her. So I don't know if this is going to be the point in which she makes her move, maybe coming off this bridge, but I'm very curious to see what she's thinking in terms of strategy. She has mentioned many times that her main goal here is a victory. So she may just be, waiting to the last 10 miles. I'm not sure.
And this is only the second race of the 2009 calendar year. The other one was August 1st here in New York City when she won the New York City Half Marathon. She had hoped to run the World Championships Marathon in Berlin, but a hamstring twinge out of New York kept her off that starting line. Tonsillitis kept her off the Birmingham, England World Half Marathon Championship September 20th. So it's always New York City, which is the comfort of the 5 boroughs, seems to wrap around her, and off to the victory stand she goes. Can she do it again?
She's won 7 of 8 New York City races entered, and you heard in her conversation with Bruce Beck right before the start, she has a fondness in her heart for the city. Now, one of the things about this bridge is that you can see the skyscrapers of Manhattan. It gets you tangibly closer to the finish line. You look back over the last 5 years and see what happened to the runners who were the leaders at this halfway mark on the Pulaski Bridge.
And it's a good thing. For the most part, traditionally speaking, the halfway leader on the women's side of the ING New York City Marathon does go on to be the champion. Now, when you have an athlete the level of Paula Radcliffe, that makes it a little bit easier. But Jelena Prokopchuka from Latvia, a 2-time champion who was entered in this race, was one of the 5 elite women who did not make the start line, Jelena, because she was pregnant. So we want to congratulate her on that, although we miss her here in the race.
Now, this is one of the quieter parts of the course, heading into Queens.
Light industry.
Very industrial.
And then the Queensboro Bridge, which is a tall, sharp incline. It's a long, grueling hill. And then you come spilling off of that, and the world literally changes. And that's where you really have to have your horses held back, but they've been holding their horses back for 13 and a half miles right now. So it's a matter of them finally letting out the reins a little bit. And Julie, how does Koskai look? She's in the back of that pack. the Boston Marathon champion. Can you get a closer look at that knee you mentioned maybe bleeding?
I don't see any blood. I do see a scrape, though, for sure. It could have been earlier, but, you know, again, with a slow pace, and I'm Paula Radcliffe, and I know anything about my competitors, I would not want to keep Koskai around, you know, too late in this race. She's got a wicked kick, as we saw in Boston. You know, she ran 2:06 for 800 meters when she was only 14 years old, so she certainly has a great finish, but, you know, again, I'm just waiting to see what Paula's going to do here in the last half of this race, but at this point, Koskai looks pretty good, but all 5 of them look pretty good because the pace is so slow.
So nothing record-setting about the pace for the women. They've passed the halfway mark in the 2009 ING New York City Marathon. Never get tired of seeing these pictures that come from all 5 boroughs in the city of New York.
Sort of tripping over her own foot, which cascaded that fall.
It certainly looked that way. There was a pothole in the neighborhood, but it looked as though of the million strides that she's taken in her life, that was one that went horribly wrong.
Here we go. In slow motion now, Koskai in the yellow top closest to the camera and the blue shorts. See, boom, just tripped over her own foot. Kano then gets clipped, and look how hard she goes down. Oh, baby. You know, we saw that great fall in the Chicago Marathon 2006 when Robert Chariot fell backwards right at the finish line.
Oh, on the wet pavement.
Oh, it just cracked his skull. That was frontally as scary a looking fall as he took backwards in Chicago that year. Robert Chariot is in the men's race. We haven't talked much about him either to this date, but he's in there.
The women are in mile 15.
And it really is the hush before the explosion. And we rarely see moves at this stage of the race, but Paula Radcliffe, as always, has been the leader. We have had Christelle Donnet, 34 of France, in the red top on the right of the screen. And she's got a very similar arm and carriage. She's a very efficient runner. She's the 2-time French national 10,000-meter track champion, the cross-country champion. She was 20th at the Olympic Games. It's only her 4th marathon. She was 10th in the World Championships in 07 in Osaka, Japan, 20th in Beijing, and then the big breakthrough this year, taking 3rd at Paris in 2:25. But Al, the Paris Marathon is at least 2 minutes faster a course than is New York City. So Paula's run 3 times 2:23 in New York City. Donnet's run 2:25, which translates into a more of a 2:27. So you still think it's Paula's race right now, with Petrova being the one who was on her backside longest last year, even though she's 41 years of age today. And Durartu Tulu, the right of the screen, the Ethiopian woman behind Donnet. 92 Olympic 10,000-meter champion when Paula was a junior, winning the World Cross Country Junior Championship in Boston in 1992. So these women have had extraordinarily long careers, and yet here they are in the lead pack in 2009 in New York City. Listen to the crowd, who they're rooting for. And Koskai just hanging on it back. I think she's just looking for her groove. Get it back. Find that rhythm. Everyone is running Paula Radcliffe's race. That's what you want to do as an athlete. Have everyone else run your race, your pace. She's in a pace which is very comfortable for her. Now, it may be that somebody's like shortening their stride a little bit, not feeling comfortable. Julie and I were talking about it. Donnet looks like that's a comfortable stride for her as well.
Well, it does. And you know what, Tony? Speaking of Koskai, I think that she's very fortunate that this pace is very moderate, because it's going to allow her to gather herself from that fall. And you're right, I don't think she took the brunt of the fall as hard as Kano did. So I think this is to her advantage, but I really am starting to become very surprised at how slow the pace is. Mile 14 was 5:47.
Now this is a New Yorker's fantasy. The Queensboro Bridge with no traffic.
If only.
It connects the borough of Queens to the island of Manhattan and is largely, for lack of a better word, credited for the huge cemeteries that are in Queens at the other end of the bridge. There were a time in the early days of Manhattan where when people passed away, they just buried them wherever. And eventually they passed a law, and when this bridge was opened in 1909, it was the exit from Manhattan. Back in the day in the New York City Marathon, this was a metal graded bridge, and they used to have to carpet it But now with the many renovations that have gone on, the bridge has pavement.
And for years they put carpet on that bridge, and then they finally took it away. We were talking to Paula. What she doesn't like is the grading on the Willis Avenue Bridge between 19 and 20 miles. That gets into her shoes, her racing shoes, and it makes it really uncomfortable for her.
So it grates on her.
It literally grates on her. Exactly.
And back in the day also, we could never bring you these pictures, but in this digital age, at least so far, we get a clear view of what is a 5-women race.
And you can see them slogging up this bridge. This is a long, slow slog up to the 16-mile mark. And then
everyone says this is the biggest pain in the neck of the race. This climb up the 59th Street Bridge after you're past 13, 14, 15 miles.
Oh, but you do have that enormous anticipation of what lies ahead. You take a peek over your left shoulder, and there it is, arrayed in front of you, the skyline of Manhattan, and you know what lies ahead. And every one of these women is a veteran. They're experienced, and I think they've marshaled their forces, and Paula in many ways has let these other women into this race. Durartu Tulu from Ethiopia, two-time Olympic champion at 10,000 meters, the first African woman ever to win a gold medal in the Olympic Games. Tremendous hero back home, as now we see Kosgei, Julie, fading off the back just a little bit. Is that so?
She is. She's maybe 5 meters off the back, ever so slightly grimacing. So maybe that fall is coming back to haunt her earlier than we thought.
It just can't be the pace.
No, it's definitely not the pace. That was another 5:48 mile for mile 15, and Christelle Donnet looks like she said enough is enough, and she wants to go to the front. And you know, I've learned over time not to let Paula's head bob fool me at all, because that's just her style of running, but her head is starting to bob. I'm not sure if maybe she just doesn't feel 100% today, but I would never, ever count her out.
Well, now, she did mention it just almost parenthetically during her press conference. She had a little twinge, what she called it, last week. Didn't say where. Of course, she did have that hamstring tendonitis coming out of the New York City half in August, which kept her out of the World Championships in Berlin. But anytime you have any sort of twinge, as I said earlier in the Open, everyone's got some sort of twinge going on, but this is even slower than it was last year. And you just wonder, maybe she's not 100%. But no one else wants to take the reins. All these women have run faster than what they're running today. Certainly the conditions are there for them to run fast, and yet the Paula's intimidating factor. You think that's it, Julie, that it's still Paula. And even if she's got something wrong, people still just don't want to go in front of her.
Well, she's still run 2:15, and that's the bottom line. So I think that's a huge factor. You know, they know that if they were to make a search, she can answer. They know, sitting behind her, she's going to dictate the pace, and it's just tough to take the lead from somebody like that.
The women have hit the crest of the 59th Street Bridge, or the Queensboro Bridge. The men have all collected themselves again, so all these probes are now unified. And it's funny, if the women look to their left, they could see the United Nations, and this is a UN of a 5-women breakaway. The men in mile 12, the women in mile 16. It's not the way it used to be. The women start first, and they get a chance to have their own race, and then the men start just in front of the masses, and they get to have their race.
It used to be in the old days you did mix the two genders up, Al, and what would happen is we in television would be going, can you move that guy? I can't see. Can you get out of the way?
Hey, Ed, a lot of attention being placed on the American runners today, because this is the United States Marathon Championship, and of course it's been a long time since an American has won the race. How about assessing Ryan Hall and Meb Keflezighi and the American story right now?
Well, I think the American story right now is there's a pack of 13 elite men, and 5 of them are Americans. Ryan Hall looks very good. Burham Dawn had a 10-second lead, the Moroccan, and what that forced, what happened as a result of that, it forced Garib, one of our pre-race favorites, to make a move, but right on Garib's shoulder was Hall. Hall answered that call. They closed the gap, and the biggest thing that came about from all that is Macau, one of our serious pre-race favorites, is nowhere to be seen now. We have a pack of 13. Macau, a pre-race favorite, is gone, and we have 5 Americans. Meb Keflezighi looks absolutely flawless. He just gave me a smile, thumbs up. He's feeling good. Ryan Hall, very controlled. Torres is zoned in. He's running a very smart race. He hasn't taken his turn up front. He just looks like he's in the zone, trying to get these early miles out of the way as easy as possible.
You know, if I was in that pack, Ed, I'd look at Burundane and say, would you stop it? You're being a real pest.
Well, there he goes again. Just as we talk about it, he takes off again. But what we saw last time is Reeb, who's been kind of a cagey guy, just right in the back of the pack. When his lead got out to about 11 seconds, Garib said, oh my goodness, I guess I'm going to have to do some work. He pulled himself out of the pack, and he led that group of 13 runners to close the gap. And then once they caught him, then he drifted back in to get out of the wind again.
He's sitting right behind Meb.
Yeah, he's in a yellow shirt. He's right behind Meb, and he doesn't want to take the lead. I think he's feeling the wind a little bit. I think every time he's been in the front, he can feel that, so he eases back. But he's certainly, once that gap got over to about, okay, boys, let's close it down. So, you know, he's got some running legs on him.
Well, it's just fascinating. The women are down to 5, and looked like Donnay was making head a little bit of a break. There was a professional aid station there in the middle of the bridge, and she went to the front to ensure her bottles. There are 10 tables which are set up along this race course. Every 5 kilometers is an elite professional aid station. And all those tables, right, Radcliffe is on table 1, Koskai is on table 2. It goes on, Donnay is on table 5, so they have a chance to split up and make sure they get the bottle without fighting one another for position.
And they are about to experience one of the great thrills of the ING New York City Marathon, the move on to First Avenue, where the official drink is a Bloody Mary. And hear all the noise up First Avenue. And you always wonder, you know, Tony, how much is pre-planned in terms of where the move is going to be made? In other words, does Paula think now, is it 65th Street? Is it 72nd Street? Is it the Willis Avenue Bridge? Is it Central Park? Or does she just wait to see how things evolve and decide then?
A lot of it has to do with the races that's happening in front of you. You may have predetermined plans. Often in the marathon, at the highest level, 35 kilometers, 21 and a half miles is generally where things really break open. Who's the finalist at that point? But you sense not only your strength, but you sense the strength of your opponents. And as we're looking at this women's race coming off the Queensboro Bridge, it is Christelle Donnay from France who's gone to the front first. I don't think she's being overly aggressive. Gerard Tutulu is in second place right now, and Paula is not being the one leading over the bridge, which leads you to believe that she's a little bit off today. She wouldn't be there if she was having her normal day. And again, Julie, I don't think Donnay is really pressing the issue that hard, is she?
If the energy of First Avenue and turning onto First Avenue doesn't propel you to run a little bit faster, I don't know what will. And you know what was interesting? As they were making that turn, Gerard Tutulu ran alongside Paula Radcliffe and actually looked at her almost as if to say, are you okay? And just trying to maybe read her face a little bit. But, you know, Paula did not answer the little burst by Christelle Donnay, and maybe now ever so slightly seems to be reeling her in a little bit, but it's not her typical style, which leads us to believe maybe something is off, or maybe she's just trying something different and has a precise point at which she wants to make her move. It's tough to tell right now.
It doesn't feel to me right now like this is a move with purpose. I just feel like it's just what it is.
She has some people just go downhill a little quicker tempo. She didn't mean to go to the front. She ended up in the front, and she hasn't tried to push her advantage like Burundane early in the men's race. He was out front, but he didn't try to, take advantage of that gap, and now the other women are slowly pulling her back and coming back on her shoulder.
But boy, Tony, you're right. You said it. Christelle Donnay's stride is extremely efficient. She's a beautiful runner.
Yeah, again, only her 4th marathon. She's run at the highest levels, the Olympics and the World Championship. Hasn't run all that great, made that huge breakthrough in Paris. And now Paula and Petrova. What do you say about Petrova? 41 years of age, a 2000 champion, run this race just almost 10 times. She was second last year. Paula didn't get rid of her till 2 hours into the race, and there she is, just still right in the hunt at this age. Just extraordinary. But Julie, we've seen this before. It's only the Russian women seem to be able to hold on to the careers as long as they do. No one else seems to.
Well, it's true, and it's funny you were mentioning earlier about some of the working moms that are running. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe all 5 of these women are mothers. So it's pretty amazing, and the Russian women that are around in their late 30s and 40s, most of them seem to have taken a little bit of a hiatus when they are pregnant or taken some time to raise their children. So that may, provide the answer for why they have some of that longevity.
All right, great, thanks.
We have 42,000 plus running on the streets of New York City today. A little over 8,000 are running with a special cause, generating cash for so many causes. Anthony Edwards.
Looking good, you guys.
Paula Radcliffe now up First Avenue, has gone back in front, but that women's pack of 5 has still maintained itself throughout this competition. Donnay from France had gone to the front initially off the Queensboro Bridge, but now up First Avenue, it looks like Paula Radcliffe has taken this race a little bit by the scruff of the neck, is beginning to shake. .5:31 that last mile. That's the second fastest mile of the day. Traditionally, this is where the action is, but now look at that last year. 5:16, 5:21, and 5:20. Those are the miles up First Avenue last year. And already the first mile is a 5:31 on an ideal day to run.
They're just lazy.
That's exactly it.
And the men's race on the right. They've hit the Pulaski Bridge, so they are at the halfway mark.
104.32 as the halfway split. Sort of right in the historic range you'd expect. Last year, it was 106 and change, so this year the men are a little bit faster. 105.07 rather was the halfway split, 105.07, but still that's right in range with what Turcotte was running in Ramallah back in 2005. So again, both these races, one would assume, would be what they call negative splits, where the second half is run faster than the first.
Now the men in their pack at the halfway mark. Let's check out what has happened to the leaders at the halfway mark as far as the finish of the race is concerned. It's no sure thing, but it's a pretty good bet.
Yeah, Gomez dos Santos is always, in 2006, he in many ways stole the race. When Turcotte and Baba Kiagora from Kenya didn't take him seriously when he made his break at 19 and 20 miles, by the time they decided, oh my God, we better go get him, it was too late, and they could never close the gap fully. In 2008, he validated that 2006 victory.
He's tucked in right about there.
Right, his yellow top, and he's got the black sock hat, and he's in the back of the pack behind the big, tall Kenyan Robert Chariot, the 4-time Boston King, and he's got the red top and the blue shorts and the sock hat as well.
You get the feeling someone's going to win the ING New York City Marathon for another time in their career, don't you?
Experience on a course like this is so important. You know how to handle the emotions. That's what this comes down to. But every one of these guys, if we take a look at the 2004 event, 4 of the top 5 finishers from 2004, Meb and Abdi and Robert Chariot, are in this race. In Ramallah, they're all in this race. So there's a lot of experience out on this track. And there is Jorge Torres right next to our 2-time and defending champion, Gomez dos Santos. In the orange shorts, you've got Jorge Torres in his debut marathon. But what better coach than the 2008 champion and former world record holder Steve Jones of Wales? Ed, anyone looking antsy at all?
What I've seen, Tony, is that James Kwambai, anytime anybody makes a bit of a move, Kwambai kind of moves himself up to that front of the pack. Abdirahman coming down the hill, coming off of the Pulaski Bridge, moved into the lead. And as he did so, Kwambai then moved up. And Kwambai really is in control, running very easy, very comfortably, and he should be. I mean, here's a man who's the 3rd fastest marathoner of all time, and he's running at 2:10 pace. All of these guys, all 13 of these guys, we're now seeing Belota Esmeran drop off, so it's a pack of 12, but all 12 of these guys are very capable of running a 2:10 effort, so it's not surprising that Kwambai, who's run the 3rd fastest time ever, is running very comfortably.
So, Ed, essentially what you're saying is these guys are well under the red line on their tachometer, and any one of them can just ramp downshift into second gear and explode anytime they really want.
Well, let's put it this way. The last mile was 5:06. Now, that's a very comfortable, easy pace for these men. So, yes, I think it's just a matter of time. And Baramdani's been the guy who each time has been the one to kind of instigate things. But we just don't have a leader out there. I think they're looking at each other, and they're wanting to run as easy as possible, save some legs for the latter portion as they get into Central Park. And just as we say that, Baramdani on cue, again, puts a little spurt in and tries to open things up.
You know, you talk to all these guys at the press conferences, Al, and every one of them said, I want a strong pace, but I will not be the pace setter myself. I will help. Well, Baramdani has tried to make the pace for them, and they just won't go out there and help him. So this means they're all going to have to experience what they didn't want to, and that's the explosion up First Avenue. We've seen Ramallah be that main conductor up First Avenue in the past, where he's run as fast as 4:21 for that mile, 17th mile, and you could see it coming again this year. They're just going to go nuts up First Avenue, and it's going to blow this pack apart.
You know, Tony, I've gotten to the point where I believe very little of what I hear in press conferences.
Well, no, the other thing is they all, of course, sit with one another, and they all, of course, it doesn't behoove them to do anything but lie to us. And generally speaking, you know, they all keep it close to their
vest. Not lie, but not give it up.
No, exactly. They all say one thing, and then the race goes out there. Ryan Hall won his tune-up race at the Philadelphia Distance Run, the ING Philadelphia Distance Run. That was in September. He wanted to maybe take a shot at the American records along the way, but that first mile he realized it maybe wasn't his day, and he backed right off. So you can have a plan of running fast, but the minute reality sets in, and almost instantaneously, you realize that, okay, if they're not going, I'm not going, and next thing you know, that becomes the reality. Nobody takes the ball and runs with it.
Status quo in the women's race. They're about 1.5 miles from the Bronx. As we zoom in on First Avenue, heading north. Julie, have you seen anything interesting in the last half mile or so?
Maybe the pace is crept down ever so slightly, maybe 5:32, 5:33 they've run for the last 2 miles. And, you know, the form really hasn't changed. Everybody looks nice and relaxed, and Paula hasn't done anything.
We'll get Julie back in a moment.
Very un-First Avenue-like for the women.
What do you mean?
They're just running down the street. They're not racing down the street. Usually this is where the gloves are off. This is where the hard shots are taken. But you notice the configuration of that pack. Radcliffe on the right, Donay in the first row, and then Petrova and Tulu with Koskai in back. The makeup of that lead pack has not changed at all. So no one's moving. No one feels it.
Maybe the move comes in the Bronx. Maybe it comes in the hills of Central Park. And who knows? It's happened in the past. Maybe it's a sprint to the finish. It's the 40th running of the ING New York City Marathon.
They talked about it most was Patrick McCowan. He's the one that's out. And Ed, seems to me that Dos Santos, our defending champion, is now off the back of this pack.
Yep, as we're going up this bridge, Dos Santos is definitely falling back. So now it's a pack of 11 with 4 Americans in that pack. And Torres is looking very comfortable. He's running very smoothly. And again, the pace at 2:10 pace, I would think he would be capable of running that sort of pace, particularly with his coach, Steve Jones, former world record holder, being so confident of his training leading into this. He's looking very relaxed and comfortable at this pace.
Ed, how does Ryan Hall look to you?
You know, Ryan Hall took his gloves off about a mile ago, and I thought, okay, here we go. He grabbed his back, and I don't know if he just had a scratch or if he had a little bit of a cramp, but he kind of was rubbing his back just for a second there. Then he took the gloves off, but he looks comfortable. He's certainly running with him and within himself as well. And watch for Ryan Hall. He had such a stunning run to win the Olympic trials in preparation for the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. Through Central Park. He is so strong in the hills, and you know, he was a good cross-country runner. A lot of times that correlates to running well through hills, and Hall looks very good right now.
Well, Ed, doesn't also, this reminds us of that 2007 Olympic trials race where it was a 106 first half and very controlled, and he exploded for a 102 second half and just blew the field away. and they're setting it up to be a half marathon race. Now, you do have a lot of half marathon specialists out there who've run great, like Kwambai has run 59:08 for a half marathon just the month before the ING New York City Marathon, so you can't get rid of Kwambai. And Abdi has run a 46:30 10-mile race, winning the U.S. National 10-mile Championship. So there's a lot of fast guys up there.
You know, this is very significant what's going to happen in a moment, because it's been a long time since First Avenue, with all its people, has seen the men's race make that turn onto First Avenue and see someone wearing USA on the front of their chest. That, I would think, was going to make things very exciting for you, Ed.
Well, I certainly think it will, and I know that traditionally Ramallah goes crazy when we get onto First Avenue, but he's drifting off a little bit. But the fact that Meb Keflezighi, Jorge Torres, Ryan Hall, Abdi Abdirahman, we've got 4 Americans in the thick of things as we come in. They are going to get a great ovation, especially with Meb having the USA, one of his USA singlets that he's wearing today.
Born in Eritrea, now he runs for the United States. That's Meb Keflezighi, tucked in right behind the lead. Boromdane, he's really been, as I said before, sort of a pest to the entire group. Goes out, comes back, goes out, comes back.
Oh, he's been a sort of a favorite son, because he's the one that's doing all the leading and no one else has to do it. So he's taken that role on. But he's just he's tried to be the spur, and the horse just doesn't want to go. On the women's side, again, it looks like Selena Kosgei is now falling off the back as Paula has ramped it up First Avenue with a couple of fast miles, and the fall early in the first 20 minutes of that race, which cost Yuri Kano her chances at the title today. Now this is the Willis Avenue Bridge that they're approaching, between 19 and 20 miles. And again, after that flat stretch up First Avenue, this becomes a bit of a test, and that's where the hills on this course are, on the bridges and Central Park.
This is one of the shortcuts to Yankee Stadium from Manhattan into the Bronx. Very short stint there.
And then it's the Madison Avenue Bridge that they cross coming back into Manhattan.
And you feel like this area has been under construction your entire life. And there's the carpeting to cover up the grading. So it's not a red carpet. They don't want anyone getting too comfortable.
Jackson Kipkowicz, well, we go back to the women on that nice orange carpet. So Paula said this is the bridge she didn't like because it graded on her, and now it's not. And they've down to 4. Petrova, number 140, in the yellow outfit, yellow hair. Donné in the red, number 115, and Durartu Tulu, the great Ethiopian, as the men come swinging off the bridge. And that's Jackson Kipkowicz leading the way, who won the Tiberias Marathon in Israel earlier this year in January, and the course record 2:08:07.
Let's listen. And Rick Ramallah, the former champion, just as Ed Eyestone spoke, goes a little crazy on First Avenue. But it's a downhill. You never know if it's for real.
Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. This is Hendrik Ramallah. You get a race out of him every time out of the box. He explodes up First Avenue. He did it in 2004 when he won the race. He did it in 2005, Al, with a 4:21 17th mile, and then got beat by 0.5 of a second. And you sort of wish, maybe I wish I hadn't have done it if I was going to lose by just that little lean by Paul Tergat. But you got to hand it to Ramallah. 30-plus career marathons, and out he goes, making it happen up First Avenue.
I don't know how many people at home have been reading, but we have some just crazy facts that are rolling at the top of the screen. Amazing trivia. The men on First Avenue.
Kwambai has answered, as is Borumdan. And is that Jackson Kipkowicz, Ed? I think that's the 4-man pack, and interesting enough, we've, like always on First Avenue, Al, this is where breaks are made. Ed, is there definitely a 4-man break?
Yeah, there's a four-man break. I'm at the tail end of things back with Hall. I know that Abdi talked to Hall before the race, or excuse me, Meb talked to Hall before the race and said, be careful when we get onto First Avenue. Don't let the emotion run away with you and don't go crazy. So for Hall's sake, I think he is holding back a little bit, but that's definitely Ramallah who has injected things. One day they're going to rename First Avenue Ramallah Avenue because he loves to run fast here.
Kwambai on the left of the screen. Ramallah he was a pirate at Halloween, and he's still touting the bandana. Borum Don from Morocco, and Jackson Kipkowicz, sort of the surprise from Kenya.
Meanwhile, there's a New York-Philadelphia thing going on this weekend. Knicks Sixers last night, Giants Eagles today, and of course the big one is the New York Yankees and the Philadelphia Phillies. And there you see the new next to the old Yankee Stadium. With the Yankees up 2-1, they also have some marathon thoughts on their minds.
You know, Meb always said Ryan Hall, when they do their running together, they live in Mammoth Lake, says Abdi Abdurrahman has gone to the front, the American. He was 6th last year. He was 5th in a previous year, and he debuted here in 2004. He's gone to the front. We saw Abdi do this on 4th Avenue last year. Well, he's waited to 1st Avenue this year, but he's always been an aggressive runner. And now he's gone to the front. Now, Abdi is one of those guys that really has a hard time holding off the aggression. He loves to race. And there he goes, splitting up that pack just a little bit. But Meb always said that Ryan Hall was a good listener. And he told him to hold his horses up First Avenue. And so they let that four-man break develop, but then they slowly, along with the rest of that pack, closed down that pack. We got the 17th mile at 4 minutes, 43 seconds. That was the fastest mile of the day, but still a good 10, 15 seconds slower than usual.
So 10 men at last count. A former winner here in New York City. And now it looks like the women are down to 4. Julie, tell us about the drop.
Well, there really hasn't been a drop. I think Selena Koskei is just feeling the ill effects of that fall and just had enough. She couldn't really hang with these girls anymore because it's certainly not a pace change thing. They did have a few quicker miles on First Avenue, but only down to 5:30, 5:34. All 4 women should be able to handle that. And mile 20 was actually 5:50. 5:50 is pedestrian. And what I'm wondering is, you know, I certainly wouldn't call today a windy day, but I think the wind is enough to just be annoying and a nuisance. And I think maybe that is one of the reasons and one of the factors for the slow pace today. Mile 21, 5:53.
So the women are making their crossing back into the borough of Manhattan. They'll go through Harlem, down 5th Avenue, into Central Park, and maybe, just maybe, there'll be some Central Park Hills drama between these 4.
You would think there would have to be.
That would be the next big spot.
You're looking for places on the course when you can make your moves, and it seems like Central Park is that place. Now, it's a long, slow incline coming. It's interesting. You're coming down in numbers on 5th Avenue, but you're actually going slightly upgrade all the way to 90th Street from 138th Street. So that's a place to grind your opponents. But Central Park, with its rolling hills, is a place to really use a specific hill to punish them. James Kwambai now on the men's side, one of the definite pre-race favorites. 2nd place in Boston 2007, 2nd in Berlin 2008, 2nd in Rotterdam 2009, and yet the 3rd fastest man in history. I was talking to his coach, Claudio Baradelli, last night. He says the thing they had to worry about him, his preparation has gone so perfectly, is overconfidence.
Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, number 12, and we'll try to get him picked out, Jackson Kipkowicz missed the bus and had to get a police escort to the start line. So his heart rate might have been a little higher when this race got started.
And it looks like now is that Garib, Ed Eyestone, is it Jawad Garib falling off the pace?
Yeah, that's Garib who's fallen off, along with Americans Abdi Abdurrahman, Ryan Hall, and Jorge Torres in that order are strung out behind. And part of that reason is the last mile was running 4:37. So we had a 4:43 followed by a 4:37. Those are pretty heavy miles. And it immediately broke.
That's obviously a dead zone. We'll get back to Ed Eyestone in a moment, but you can see it's down to 6 men, yes, and 4 women on the left-hand side. They're in the 22nd mile. The men are 90 minutes into their race. Boy, this women's race feels like it could be very, very dramatic.
Well, you know, no one's put the clutch in and dropped it down any sort of gear to drive forward. We did see Christelle Donnet in the red outfit take a bit of a lead as she swept off the 59th Street Bridge onto First Avenue, but it really wasn't a move. Nobody has actually gone and made a move. The miles are just drifting by, and it's going to turn into, we thought maybe a half marathon race. Now we're looking at it like a 10K race. Maybe it'll come down to a 5K or a mile. And remember, Paula Radcliffe has won the Continental Airlines Fifth Avenue Mile in the past, and it's the only race that she lost in her career here in New York City. The first time she was here in '95, lost by a split-hair second to Sinead Delahunty from Ireland.
So it's a race with no strategy, and you wonder if that might be the strategy of one of these 4.
Well, you know, Paula cannot be feeling 100%. That's the only thing you can say. The others are more than happy to be towed along by this, and Paula's allowing them to be put into a position to have the day of their life and beat her. And that's what you hope for as an athlete, not with the credentials of the other of this one alpha athlete. Put me in a position so maybe I'll have my day, and that's what she's doing. She's allowing them to be in the hunt. And Durartu Tulu, who has had about a 2-year layoff based on having given birth to 2 girls, and she also picked up 4 orphans back in Ethiopia. I mean, remember, this is a 2-time Olympic champion at 10,000 meters and also a bronze medalist. So she is a London Marathon champion. She is one of the great overall distance runners in history. If Paul is the best marathoner, Tulu might be the best overall runner.
So still 4 women, and it feels like it might soon be just 5 men vying for the championship here in New York City. Remember, this is also the American Marathon Championship, so Mebka Flesky and Ryan Hall are still in play there. We could be heading to some memorable finishes here in the Empire State. The ING New York City Marathon. Paula Radcliffe of Great Britain is trying to win in New York for a 4th time. On her left, Ludmila Petrova has won here in New York City before, and we are fast approaching the hills of Central Park, which is one of the reasons why this is not a record-setting course. It's that difficult, it's that complicated. Julie, what do you see?
Status quo here. I mean, it's just mind-boggling, and again, I'm going to be very interested to hear what these women say afterwards, if the wind was a factor at all. And as I said, it's not particularly windy, but there is a breeze, and I don't know if that's part of the reason, or is it just that Paula's not pushing the pace and these girls are saying, you know, I want to go by, but it's Paula, you know, so I'm not sure what's going on. Very interesting.
And Tony, Paula knows what it's like to pull a race out right at the end.
Well, you know, last year she broke Petrova at the 2-hour mark, and now we're, 2 hours plus into this race, and she broke away last year with a 5:12 23rd and a 5:14 24th mile, and you just don't see that happening this year. It's Tulu is a great past champion, and you've got Petrova's 41 years of age. Donnet, Julie, I don't know, Donnet's the one that's got the new speed. If Paula's not having the day, and the way that Donnet looks, she's a track runner, she's got the freshest age group legs. I mean, it's hard to pick against Paula, but this is not Paula at 100%. That much I know.
I think you're right, and I don't know. She's not one to leave things to chance, so you're right. But Christelle Donnet looks like she is running a track race, very bouncy, very fluid, and like I said, dropping 3 minutes off your marathon personal best this year alone is just a huge confidence boost. And now, being in the final marathon with the world record holder, her confidence is probably growing and growing and growing. And she certainly looks the same as she did at the start of this race. Very comfortable.
And Petrova's unbelievable. She's 41 years old.
Right. We just saw the Ethiopian flag being waved. You can see it in the background, and Durartu Tulu gave it a quick wave and acknowledgement. And now we can see the Willis Avenue Bridge. looming ahead. And now we got training partners leading this race, Al, and that's Robert Chariot, the 4-time Boston Marathon champion, the tall man on the left. His partner, James Quambai, on the right. And Quambai, according to the coach and the rest of the team, has been beating Chariot in training, but Chariot was 5th at the World Championships Marathon in August in Berlin. So again, a short window of training in preparation for New York, whereas Quambai, that long, beautiful glide path into New York City. So he's definitely the favorite. Meb Keflezighi, right in there in a comeback year of his own, could not walk following the 2007 Olympic trials with a hip fracture, literally a hip fracture. And he took almost more than 13 or 14 months off, and now he's back. He's won 3 U.S. titles on the roads this year, and he's back on the streets of New York and being very competitive.
And for the first time in this race, Ludmila Petrova seems as though she's forcing the issue a little bit.
And look who's falling.
Paula Radcliffe, 5, 6, 7, 8 feet back.
We've never seen it in New York City. And the head bob is going full strength. You can see that she's pushing. She's really pressing it. There's no one tougher than Paula. I mean, you're going to have to drive a stake through her heart because just running's not going to do it. She's going to be as tough can be. And if anyone's being rooted for on this race course, it's Paula Radcliffe. You can take a look at these times she's run, the fastest women's times in history, and she's just head and shoulders above the rest of the crowd as they pass the 23-mile mark. But this is where times have gotten tough. It's obviously not been her day all day long, and now she's very much in the danger zone. The other women have to take advantage of this and drive when the moment's at hand, and there goes Tulu to get some water. If she could just nurse this bad patch she's going through, she can get back. As long as they don't accelerate off this pace.
Well, the hills are still to come.
Right. I think Petrova is the one that senses it most. She's the one that's raced against Paula in the marathon more than the others. But at 41 years of age, how much lift does she have in those legs? Tulu hasn't run the marathon in several years. She's only had one tune-up race. That was the ING Philadelphia distance run in September. She ran a 70-minute time. That was fine, but that was a 4th place finish. But it was enough to get her spirits up where she wanted to come back and try the marathon on. She's not the same Gerartu Tulu as she was when she was a double Olympic gold medalist. Dawnay is really the unknown factor. In only her 4th marathon, she took a huge chunk off her personal best in her last race, but she has had experience at the World Championships and the Olympic level. But does she have the experience to know when to strike? Julie, are they trying to put the stake in Paula's heart?
This has been unbelievable to watch. You know, when Ludmila Petrova made her little surge, Gerartu Tulu turned around and looked at Paula and pointed, get up here, pointed right next to her. So Gerartu Tulu is really encouraging Paula. And once that break was made, I saw Paula grimace twice. Something's bothering her for sure. I don't know what it is, but she's not right.
Well, how about Tulu? She seems to be listing, or she's been listing to the left the entire race. That could just be the way she runs in this day and age. Again, she's such a veteran. She's been at this for such a long period of time. How does she look? She's never been the one in the front row.
She looks great, to be honest, and to have the presence of mind and the energy at this point in the race to encourage, you know, the world record holder who's falling back to come up with you. I think that says a lot. I think she feels good. She looks good. I just think she, like the rest of us, is in shock about what's going on with this race.
Yeah, usually the one, if you're not feeling good, you're not encouraging your opponents.
Definitely not.
It's when you feel good.
Yeah, it was a very classy move, to be honest.
It is very strange to see Paula Radcliffe in danger of being left behind. Meanwhile, on the men's side, look at Meb Keflezighi wearing USA on the streets of New York City. Not since 1982 has an American won the ING New York City Marathon.
It's such a great story. Meb, 70 days after his Olympic silver medal in Athens, came to New York City and got second to Ramallah. The following year, in that great duel between Ramallah and Tergat, you got to remember, Meb was only about 20, 30 seconds back in 3rd place, and that was after he ruptured a quadricep muscle in Helsinki, Finland at the World Championships. Now, he's fully healthy and ready to roll, and he's right in the hunt with only 3 other men.
And on First Avenue, it felt as though he was going to be left behind. He needed a little bit of a kick to get back with the lead group, and now he's there, and he's with Kenyans, and that is often
Dangerous.
Dangerous is right. Ludmila Petrova at the front, 41 years old. I'm thinking of Mickey Gorman, who won the ING New York City Marathon at the age of 42, and Priscilla Welsh, who did it at the same age. It's still unbelievable to think that that's possible.
Well, last year it was not only a second place, but it was a Masters, world record. Beating the Priscilla Welsh world record as the Masters division. And now she has gone to the front. But, at this stage of a marathon, inches become miles. You want to cover every move at this point. We said in the past, you want to let the marathon come to you. Well, at over 2 hours into the race, it's here.
In your mind, is Paula Radcliffe done?
Yes. I think she is. She wouldn't be back there by choice. And it wasn't necessarily their strong pace that put her back there. It's just whatever the difficulty she came into the day with, it's manifested itself as the time has gone on. Now, don't get me wrong. She's going to brutalize herself in these final miles to try to get every second at every place possible. She has not given up the hunt whatsoever, but it's going to be tough. Donnay looks really good. When you take a look, things like her shoulder carriage, how easily her shoulders are down, her arm carriage is swinging very comfortably. We see Petrova run, and it's such an efficient marathoner shuffle. No back kick whatsoever. Same thing, easy carriage on Gerard Tutulu. These women all have running left in them. It's not like they're at the end of their tether.
So it's Russia, France, and Ethiopia in play for win, place, and show. They're in the 24th mile. Paula Radcliffe, there you see, she's still in the picture, but is she really in the picture?
Fighting the tangents for every inch. The crowd urging her on.
The question now, does Paula Radcliffe of Great Britain meter distance? Donnay of France has been dropped a little bit. It looks like it's about 20, 25 feet, but those are often forever when they happen here at the late stage of this race. Come on in, Julie Henner.
Well, we're right behind Paula, and, the last 5 or 6 miles, we've had a couple of behind views of the women, and I see something on Paula's left leg, right behind her knee on the inside. It looks almost like a burn or a cut or something, so I don't know. Sometimes you can get marks like that from icing too much, so maybe that's the source of where her pain is. I'm not really sure. It'll be interesting to find out, but boy, is she ever grimacing. And
Julie,
then up front, we've got the battle of Tulu and Petrova, and I don't know. I think Tulu's won some gold medals. She knows how to win big races.
But Petrova's in her 8th ING New York City Marathon, and I think, Julie, that's a great call with Paula. You hear rumors all the time, and you never know what to believe, but there were some rumors that, again, Paula even talked about having a little twinge last week. And once you see that really red marks like that, like you were saying, Julie, that's the sign of icing as you're trying to reduce the inflammation. And of course, what Paula was felled with in 2004 at the Olympic Games was taking too many anti-inflammatories for the injury, and that knocked her stomach out, and why she dropped out of that marathon. So she was probably icing to beat the band and just trying to pray to heaven that it wasn't going to come down and haunt her.
Look at Metka Flesky soaring to the lead of the men's race.
James Quambai answering. Mile 22 on the men's side, 24 on the women's side. Burham Don is starting to be gapped a little bit. Chariot is starting to lose it again. This is where it happens when you don't have much time to prepare yourself from the World Championships to a marathon in the fall. A 4:48 23rd mile.
A 37-year-old on the left in the women's race and a 41-year-old on the right. Inspiring Ethiopians and a Russian woman.
Well, now it's Chariot catching some of the women.
Yeah, they have said goodbye.
I was going to say, here's the question. Is Paula going to end up on the podium?
Well, what's your guess?
Well, she's closing in on Danae ever so slightly. I don't know if she's going to have enough time, but boy, you're right, Tony. She's going to fight for everything.
Yeah, there's no one's ever been guttier than Paula Radcliffe. Of course, it's a sport of gutty people, but there's some of them that just reach a higher level, and Radcliffe's just got that it factor. Whether she's a champion going for first, she's fighting for the podium, fighting for fourth or 10th, she's going to fight like the dickens for everything she's got.
One last shot of adrenaline coming on Central Park South. Let's go to Ed Eyestone.
We got a great duel going on here. Robert Chariot versus Meb Keflezighi. It's down to 2, and Meb is covering every move that Chariot is putting on him. They both ran through the water stop. They both grabbed fluids, and you could tell Chariot was trying to lose him there. And Meb, rather than taking a drink, just kind of tucked it under his arm and said, okay, I'm going to cover this move before I take a drink. Meb looks very good right now, and Chariot has refound his form, the form that won him 4 Boston Marathons and a Chicago Marathon. It's going to be a great duel to the finish with these two.
You know, Ed, what happened in 2005, late in the park, Meb went for water, Turgott and Ramallah didn't, and that's where that gap opened up. He may be recalling that incident and said, no, I can't take my water now or I'll never make that distance back up, because Chariot is really putting the wood to him.
Well, he still took the water, but he just carried it so he could cover the move, and then when Chariot relaxed a little bit, he got his fluids in, so I think he's fine there. They're both looking behind him. I don't think they can believe that they have suddenly a 2-block lead on Baramdani, and Kwambai is gone as well.
That's a shock that it's Chariot more than Kwambai. Not that a 4-time Boston and 1-time Chicago champion isn't somebody to expect, but Chariot is coming off after winning his 4th Boston title in 2008. He couldn't make it to the Olympic Games with a thigh injury. You know, he's had some injuries. He dropped out of the Boston Marathon this year, going for an unprecedented 4-peat on the men's side. So he's had a down year this year. Boy, is he redeeming himself on the streets of New York City.
I've always thought it's one of the reasons boxing has had its popularity over the years. When it comes down to just you and me and you.
It's not because the coach didn't put you in. It's not because the guy didn't throw you the ball. This is mano a mano and woman on woman, and 2 great duels in New York City. Because it means so much, and they've invested so much of their life into this for the past 3 months, and for years before that. You suffer on your way to a marathon. So when times are tough, but you see that championship ahead, you're willing to go into your grave to get it.
Tony, to me, it looks as though Petrova's upper body has sort of stiffened up a little bit in the last little bit.
You know, she looks like that, I think, Al, all the time. I think she's gone to her arms. Julie, I think she's really trying to get rid of Tulu because she's afraid of Tulu's finish. Petrova's not the 10,000-meter historian. She's 41 years of age. She's got strength on her side and knowledge about the course. Tulu has never been in front this whole race, sitting beside, and you can see Petrova really gone to her arms, seeing a little look on her face. Is she making any impact on Tulu? And so far, she's not, because Tulu's now coming up alongside. Julie.
Tulu is jogging, biding her time, wait until she sees the finish line. That's my guess. She looks fantastic. We've got a race behind them for 3rd. Paula gradually catching Danae. This is extremely exciting. I don't know. At this point right now, if I had to guess, I would say Tulu's going to win this race.
Petrova's trying to get rid of her. She doesn't want it to come down to that final sprint.
I wouldn't either. She's grimacing. She's working. Yeah, they're coming up the hill, and Petrova's doing everything she can, but grimacing more and more with every step.
Well, what Petrova's got, you can see her spit and just go, put her head down, like you're saying. She doesn't have that long flowing stride, so it's tough for her to raise her game. She doesn't have a lot of speed in those legs. What she's got is an enormous engine and an enormous heart to be able to pour out power over distance. But when it comes down to a quick little shot of adrenaline and lift that pace, that's what she doesn't have. She's got to drive Tulu off her back, not sprint her away.
It's amazing how similar the 2 races are. And at the age of 41, I have no idea if Ludmila Petrova has allowed herself to think about something like this, but she may never, ever be in a spot like this again.
Danae 6 seconds back with Paula. Paula is a great race for the podium, but run out Tulu got clear face. You can just look at the faces of these two athletes, and it's Petrova that's grimacing and it's digging down into her gut as deep as she can. On the men's side, Chariot has made a couple really solid body blows. I mean, really hit Meb hard. And Meb has taken those blows, and he has not tried to be the one that's gone to the front. Shakes his arms out just a little bit, trying to relax as much as he possibly can. Does Meb have something left in him to go to the front? He's the men's half marathon champion in the United States, the 7-mile champion, the cross-country champion. He's 19 times a U.S. champion. He's going to win the U.S. National Marathon Championship, but will that include the ING Marathon title as well?
And Tulu pulls away from Petrova on Central Park South.
Julie, there it is.
Big move by Tulu. We saw the sign 800 to go. She saw an Ethiopian flag and she took off. Boy, she's flying. Petrova's trying to answer, but there's nothing there.
Good pick, Julie.
Just extraordinary. I mean, both of them 37 years of age, 41 years of age. Tulu, at an 18-year-old, won the Olympic title at 10,000 meters, the first African woman ever to win an Olympic gold medal. She got a disappointing fourth in Athens, came back for the gold in 2000 Sydney, and then the bronze in Athens. Just an extraordinary career. Also a world champion at the half marathon, 2001 London Marathon champion. Now she's going to maybe just declare herself the greatest female distance runner in history with a victory here in New York City as well.
400 meters to go. She looks like she's finishing a track race. She looks unbelievable. She sneaked a peek back. She knows she's got it.
There's a likeness of her outside the National Stadium in Addis Ababa. She's the Queen of Ethiopia. Today, the Queen of New York City.
As you see, 200 yards to go.
I wonder if she can believe it.
Well, Tony, with the resume that you just talked about, she's done just about everything that she can do wearing running shoes, except this.
Her nieces, Turanesh Dababa, matched her as a two-time Olympic gold medalist at 10,000 meters. What a bloodline she's developed. 2 children of her own. That's why she's been away from racing for the last couple of years. A 4th place finish in Philadelphia at the half marathon in September told her, I want to try on a marathon. What a great decision that was.
And how about this? The last mile she ran was the fastest of the race. That's the mark of a champion. And with the leaves falling on the streets of New York, the 40th running of the ING New York City Marathon, just short of 2:29, includes Dorota Tulu as a champion.
You want to celebrate the women's championship as the brave Petrova second for the second straight year. But Meb Keflezighi has gone to the lead in the men's race.
And Donné of France is going to hold off Paula Radcliffe, who will have to wait on that 4th ING New York City Marathon win. So it's Ethiopia, Russia, France, and then the great Radcliffe. And she clearly is having some sort of an issue with that left leg. Now, moments ago, further back on these streets, Chariot and Keflezighi bang at each other. A right, a left, a right, and a left.
Entering Central Park off of 5th Avenue at 90th Street. You can see it, the reservoir is on their right. And Meb hit the park. It's such disappointment in Central Park in 2007 when he developed an injury. His friend Ryan Shea died at the 5-mile mark. And as he enters the park in 2009, Keflezighi goes in deep and pulls away from Robert Chariot. But can he seal the deal?
That was moments ago. This is live, and it's about 20 yards. We've been both covering this race for a long time. I'm not sure I ever thought I would see someone wearing USA cross the finish line first.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I'm just saying, I never thought I would, but we might.
5 seconds so far. Ed, how's he look?
He put his head down. He said, I'm going to take this race. And he's got a 5-second gap right now. And he's looking very good, very strong. He's got a grimace etched on his face. But Chariot seems to be passing, getting more distance behind with every step. Now, if Chariot can contain himself, remember, Gomez dos Santos was in the same position last year. He was able to weather the storm and were able to fight back. And what Meb has to do now is control his pace, control his emotion, and keep it rolling. But he's got a 5-6 second gap now. He looks very good, very strong, Tony.
Thanks, Ed. You know, his family, once again, he's one of 11 children born in Eritrea. His father left the family to go to Italy first and then the United States. They didn't see one another for 6 years. Now every one of the children is a college graduate, doctors, engineers, lawyers, a tremendous American success story. He was an Olympic silver medalist, but he'd never won a marathon in his career. He's on the verge in New York City, and what a miraculous comeback it would be from all those injuries and missing over a year. He almost quit running based on how he did in the Olympic trials in 2007 and that devastating death of Ryan Shea that we all mourned so much from the 2007 trials. And yet Meb has taken all that and he's wrapped it up into his training. He went to the Olympic Training Center up in Colorado Springs in 2008 from September till Thanksgiving, from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, with maybe a half an hour for lunch. And he just worked and worked and worked until he got himself back in shape. Came back in January, won the half marathon national title, got a PR in London in 2:09:21, but not quite as much as he had liked. This is just extraordinary.
And that lead is up to 8 seconds now.
No one behind Chariot either, Ed, huh?
No, not that I can see, and that lead is up to 8 seconds now. And every time he takes a little tangent, he takes a little peek, and he can see that lead is expanding a little bit. Chariot has not given up on this, though. And remember, crazy things happen here in the hills of Central Park. But Meb is looking very strong, has a very nice rhythm going right now. And in the marathon, so much it's not what you've done, but what you've done lately. And Meb's coming off of a personal best half marathon recently. I think that shows some of the strength that he has. But we still have some hills here. Chariot is not done yet, and we've got 2.5 miles of hard racing left to go.
61 minutes flat. That was his half marathon prep race in San Jose, California, where one of his many brothers lives. So that's a hometown away from hometown. Meb moved out of San Diego, his family home, up to Mammoth Lakes full time with his wife Jordanos and Sarah and Fiore, his 3.5 to 1.5-year-old daughters. They're pregnant with their third child due in January. I mean, the story is just heartwarming. The whole Koflesny family story is one of American success. And he's got an 8-second lead, and he's managing it well. And as you look at his form, his shoulders are down, his arm carriage good, high knees, he's not falling apart. You know, he's a veteran. He can't get too excited. I know I am.
Well, I think we all are very excited right now. He's coming up on 40K. He's got 1.25 miles left to go, but he's managing that well, and I think that 8-second lead has expanded to close to 10 seconds now.
It was a New York City cop last night who joked to me. He said, which Kenyan's going to win the marathon tomorrow? And I said, well, the Americans have a chance. He said, really? And now I say, really?
We said it early on that when Meb won the silver medal in Athens, it told us we can run with the rest of the international runners. Henrik Ramala said it as well as we look at Meb's record here in New York City. Ramala says it's a mindset. The Americans, if they think they can do it, they can do it. They have all the advantages if they just believe. And I think we finally see belief happening on the streets.
Well, I think the fact that he's been running with Ryan Hall up at Mammoth Lakes, up at altitude, and those guys, day in, day out, they're able to meet together, do some of the workouts that fit each other, and that has certainly helped. We're at 25 miles now. The lead is more like 15 seconds at this point in time. As long as Meb holds it together and does not melt down, we're going to have an American winner of the ING New York City Marathon.
Yeah, and it's words that come out of your mouth, and it's just so hard to imagine they're being formed and spoken. But there he is, such a great champion, such a wonderful man. But so is Ryan Hall, all those guys, all the top Americans, from Dathan Ritzenhein, who's the only top American now who's not in this field, who just broke the 13-year-old American record at 5,000 meters this summer in Zurich. The Americans were on a roll, and Meb's putting the exclamation point on this 2009 year. It started in 2000 when we only put one American on the Olympic team in the marathon, and that brought everyone's attention. Where are we? We've gone so far back from the glory years of Shorter and Rogers and Joan Samuelson, but now we're back, and we're back in full stride.
We're at 1 mile to go now. Remember, this is a man who was the Olympic silver medalist in 2004, but I think he's been overlooked by so many looking for other Americans to come through. He's had such a great resurgent year. here in 2009, and this certainly caps that and more. Probably, I would think, would rank as high or higher than the Olympic medal that he's won in the past.
You know, Ed, I tend to agree with you. I mean, it is a surprise to me that Ryan Hall is not having as good a race as Meb is. But, you know, Meb's been on a roll. As I said, he began it in January at the Houston Half Marathon. That was a personal best. And then he went to the Big 7 road race in Davenport, Iowa, and that was a national championship, and he ran a best there. So he's been running personal best all year long, and he puts his first hand up, the first acknowledgement that victory is in hand.
Central Park South.
And we have American flags waving. Meb's taking it all in. This has got to just be the greatest feeling in the world to know the time, effort, energy, work that he has put in. The gap over Chariot at this point in time is more like 15, 20 seconds.
Well, I know this. Gary Murphy, twinkle in his eye. Norm Higgins, Sheldon Carlin, Tom Fleming, Norbert Sander, Bill Rogers, Alberto Salazar. They've all been waiting for a long time to have some company.
Gary Murphy is running in today's race. Bill Rogers is helping George Hirsch, chairman of the New York Roadrunners, at age 75, run this race. And every one of them is purely delighted with the outcome. And from my vantage point, looking on the screen, Chariot does not have the lift in his legs to do anything to match Meb. Meb's got a faster tempo, a better cadence. He's running more smoothly.
And it's a huge lead too, Tony. It's a couple blocks at this point in time. And Meb has the effort etched across his face. His teeth are grimaced somewhat, but he is holding his form just great. He'll be coming in here now, and making one of the last turns.
Understand this. This is the king of Boston that Meb Keflezighi has left behind in the hills of Central Park.
Yeah, historic figure, 4-time Boston Marathon champion. That's his Go ahead, Ed.
Half mile to go, and Meb took a look behind him. I don't know that he could quite believe that he had as big a lead as he has. He's got a half mile to enjoy this. He's worked so hard for it.
You know, it's interesting too, Ed, that, you know, we've got all these top Americans. It's the U.S. National Championship, but the guy that has USA on his best is the guy that's going to win it.
Just rides in front of Ed Eyestone. Meb Keflezighi nearing the finish line in Central Park. New York's great sanctuary is about to be one for him as well. And soon he will tell us whether he could have possibly allowed himself to envision this. But you get the feeling, don't you, that he wore that USA singlet for a reason?
The dream is coming to life. When he ran his debut marathon here in 2002, he fought Ramallah up First Avenue and then died in 9th place and was disappointed. I walked back to the hotel with him and I said, Meb, your instincts were perfect. You're a racer. You didn't go for time, you went for the win. 7 years later, the pendulum has swung all the way back.
Thumbs up, baby.
Pointing to his chest, pointing to the USA he so proudly wears across his chest. A great day for Meb Keflezighi.
And from Eritrea to New York, the great melting pot. Meb Keflezighi wins the ING New York City Marathon. distance he finally put between himself and Robert Chariot.
A great run by Chariot in second place. Just to let you know, a new personal best for Meb as well.
That was Mary Wittenberg, the CEO of the New York Roadrunners Club.
That's Giordano's his wife, and his two girls, Sarah and Fiore.
Garib finishing in third.
Ryan Hall right behind in fourth, we've been told. Tough day for Garib.
And there is Ryan Hall. That's a great finish.
He's known the glory in Central Park.
Hey, an American won the ING New York City Marathon. How about that?
You know, they're great friends. They support each other so well. They're not rivals in that sense whatsoever. If Meb would have been fourth and Ryan would have been first, it would have been exactly the same feeling. A generation has gone by, and finally an American ascends the top step of the New York City podium. And we have to give credit to Mary Wittenberg and the New York Roadrunners for starting in 2001 to develop an American system, bringing those athletes to this race.
Champion. I got to be on this one. So help you out. Thank you very much.
There's Mary.
In 2001 was the last time the U.S. Marathon Championships were in New York. Scott Larson was 14th that year. There's his mom, his daughters, and his wife, and his dad behind.
Congratulations.
He's going to cross himself 20,000 times during the course of this day.
Great run. All right. I guess I didn't run you into the ground yesterday.
We're just getting started here at the finish line. We've got 42,000 people to bring home.
Jane Monty, husband David, is the lead athlete coordinator. No more popular champion, I can tell you.
Buddy. All right, guys. Victory lap.
From the running industry standpoint, there's been not more popular a man.
Taking Meb all over the place.
Yeah, he's willingly being led.
Thanks for staying in sport, all right? Thank you. Well done, man. I got that shirt too. Yeah! Put the big apple fit on.
Next to the statue of Fred Lebo stands Meb Keflezighi. For the first time since 1982.